Hello everybody and welcome to Perek Chav Daled, chapter 24 of the book of Vayikra. Well, today we have a short Perek for you. We're going to learn about three main topics in Perek Chav Daled. We're going to learn about the Ner Tamid, the constant lamp, the Lechem HaPanim, the bread of many faces, and the cursor, Hamikalel. And we start off with the Torah's command that there must always be a constant fire burning on the menorah, from evening when the Kohen Gadol would light it until the morning. There must always be a constant fire. Now, technically speaking, the menorah was put out in the morning and cleaned, and then lit again. So it didn't actually have to be a fire burning 24 hours a day, just from evening when it was lit until the morning time. That is still called tamid, constantly, because it was constantly every single day. However, the Midrashim tell us that a great miracle took place in the menorah, that the menorah had what's called a Ner Maravi, a western lamp. And this lamp would always stay lit by a miracle even after all the rest had gone out. So it was like a constant light. Now, there's a very interesting discussion about if it never went out, what about the command to light it? An answer I once saw, I heard in the name of a commentary, I forgot which one right now, but that adding oil, just adding oil by the Kohen Gadol, would be considered lighting it because you make it burn longer. Anyway, that is the command of the Ner Tamid. Moving along to the next commandment in the Perek is the command about the Lechem HaPanim, the showbread, or the bread of many faces. Now, here's a picture of the Shulchan. Actually, this is the bottom of the Shulchan. The Shulchan itself had poles and racks to hold the bread, but we're not showing them here so you can see the full bread. Now, the bread was called Lechem HaPanim, bread of faces. And one explanation is, brought down by our commentaries, that this bread was baked in such a shape that it had many surfaces, many faces. A side, a bottom, an inside, an inner wall, a whole bunch of different surfaces in this bread. Now, the command the Torah says is that this bread needs to be lefanai tamid, before me, always. It had to be placed in the Kodesh room of the Mishkan, and had to be always on that table in front of the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadashim. Now, it was a little tricky because every single week they had to change the bread for new bread. And there was a miracle associated with this bread that it stayed fresh until next week. It was kept on the table for a whole week. And on Friday, the Kohanim would eat the new ones. However, those breads were fresh and they did not come stale. Now, how did they remove the bread without transgressing the Torah's instruction to keep bread on it always? So here's a very interesting procedure that was done. Our rabbis tell us that they used to have trays for the bread, and what would happen is that the new bread was placed on one side and would push the old bread off. That way, every single inch of space always had bread, either new bread or old bread, and they would push it off, and then a Kohen on the other side would take the old bread off as the new bread was coming on. That way, the bread could always be there constantly. And now moving along to the third topic, the topic of the Mikalel, the cursor. Well, it was actually a very sad story. You see, the Torah tells us that a man who was Ben Isha Yisraelit, the son of a Jewish woman, and his father actually was an Egyptian, we are told. And this was, Rashi tells us this was the only instance that we're told of that a Jewish woman had children with an Egyptian man in Egypt. And it was actually a very sad story that the Egyptians stole the wife of a Jew. Her name was Shlomit Bas Divri. And the reason why this happened, Rashi explains that this woman would be too friendly with the people, even the Egyptians, and so therefore this Egyptian went and did this terrible thing to her, even though it's not her fault. But we learn a lesson over here that we must be very modest and avoid men and women who are not married to each other spending too much time close to each other. And this woman ended up having a child from this Egyptian man. And this man, Torah doesn't tell us his name, but there came a fight. There was an argument. And Torah just tells us that this man went out and he cursed the name of Hashem. And Rashi tells us the background based on our sages, that there was a court case if this man was allowed to be pitching his tent together with the members of his mother's tribe, because he was not technically a son of that tribe. It goes by the father. The tribes go by the father, not the mother. And he lost the case, and he was so angry that he went out and he cursed the name of Hashem. Now the Jewish people had never had such a terrible thing before. So they brought him in front of Moshe, and the instruction was that they should then take him and put him in jail. And there was actually witnesses and a warning according to the laws of capital punishment in the Torah. And Hashem commanded that he should be taken out of the camp, and he got a punishment called skila, a death penalty of stoning. And those who heard him say this terrible curse against Hashem would place their hands on his head and stone him to death. And the Torah ends off this perek. By the way, I should tell you that when we talk about this terrible crime of cursing Hashem publicly in the writings of our sages, we don't call it mikalel, cursing generally. We call it birchat Hashem, blessing Hashem. Why? Because we prefer not to say such a terrible thing that someone would actually curse Hashem. So we use a sagi nahor, it's called a blind man talk. Basically, it's like being sarcastic, We mean something else. Oh, he's blessing Hashem. Right, blessing Hashem. Right. The opposite of blessing Hashem. And you'll see on your worksheet I wrote blessing Hashem instead of, God forbid, cursing Hashem. And the Torah ends off this chapter with two warnings. Warning number one is a warning against murder of humans, and the penalty is death penalty. And a warning against killing animals belonging to someone else. And if you do so, the punishment is a payment of the value. And that is the end of this parak.
Hey, wait a minute. What about me, NeRo?
Oh, NeRo, I almost forgot about you. What about you?
Why am I standing here like a lifeless statue?
I don't know, NeRo. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I am here to be the silly story for this chapter. Parachav Daled, that's chapter 24, is chapter NeRo. And, well, as you know, the N is secret code for...
2.
Yes, and the E
Vowels
doesn't
count.
Right.
And the R, if you turn it around, it's a 4.
Well, the R, it does not become a 4 if you turn it around, but
like
the 2, if you flip the 2 down, it becomes an N. And the R actually is a 4 because, a little complicated here, but if you write out the word 4, the fourth letter is an R. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth letter is an R in the number 4. So NeRo, the R is 4. Anyway, so NeRo, What do I have to do with this chapter? Well, you see, I am a Roman named Nero, and a Roman statue am I. And as you should know, the Romans destroyed the Bet HaMikdash. And so here I am, coming into the Bet HaMikdash. Ha 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 ha. It wasn't actually me, but the Romans anyway. Nero into the Bet HaMikdash. What do I see? Ooh, a menorah with a constant burning flame. I'm gonna go put it out because I don't like the Jews. Let me go get it. Ow, I got burnt! Ooh, ow! Oh, that is so annoying. Okay, next. Now Nero will go inside the next table. I could make some damage over here. Let me go and have some of that delicious looking bread over here. Oh, I hurt myself on the shulchan. Oh, that's so annoying. I am so angry at these Jews and their temple. I think I'll go and curse God. Nero, not a good idea. I cursed God in Parach Chav Daled in your chapter, and I was stoned to death. Wait a minute. That can't be that bad. I'm already a stone. You might get cracked. Oh, I see your wisdom. Okay, I will not be cursing God in Parach Chav Daled. Well, this has been Nero with my experience with the Jews. I think I'll let some other emperor destroy the Bet HaMikdash. I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. Goodbye.